Hello guys, today I want to make an episode discussing about cloud computing and what that's all about. Why a lot of companies are headed towards cloud and the different type of flavors of cloud, different providers and different type of services that cloud has to offer. For example, software as a service, platform as a service, security as a service, infrastructure as a service. So there's a lot of things that are within cloud that are already packaged for the customer's needs or the corporation's needs. So I'm going to go further into that and take a deep dive into the details and explain it to you in a way where you would go away from it understanding what cloud is and kind of address it in a layman's term of how these different services are different from each other, and then go through the responsibility model of what's the customer has to be responsible for and what the cloud provider is responsible for. So come along with me, we'll discuss this further while I share my screen.
So I wanted to briefly discuss a little bit about cloud, why a lot of enterprises and corporations are moving to cloud, what are some of the advantages that are drawing them over to cloud, the different types of cloud, the different type of cloud providers that are in the market, and also the type of services these cloud providers offer. Let's briefly discuss what are the benefits for businesses and individuals to use cloud. For one, there's a lot of cost savings involved. For most companies, it pretty much eliminates the capital expenditures, having to pay for new servers, licensing of those servers, battery power, generators, and also renting out the buildings that these servers are hosted in or are housed in. You pretty much pay for what you get when you're in cloud. Usually there's always an upfront cost for a majority of the cloud providers and the services that they have to offer. So the customer is not left with having to pay for a lot of their infrastructure. Flexibility. Cloud resources can be scaled up and down based on their demand. Whether you need more computing power during peak times or want to reduce capacity during slower periods. The cloud allows dynamic adjustments depending on the customer's load. Cloud-based applications can be accessed from anywhere. If you have an internet connection, you can get to these applications for the most part. Employees can work remotely, collaborate, and access data for the most part seamlessly. Disaster recovery. Cloud services offer built-in redundancy and backup options in case of a disaster. Data recovery and continuity planning become more straightforward at that time. In summary, cloud computing empowers organizations to build agile, cost-effective, and secure while focusing on their core business objectives. So, let's explore more on how cloud computing impacts both capital expenditure, in other words, CapEx, and operational expenditures. OpEx. Capital expenditure, the definition for that is it refers to initial spending of money on physical infrastructure such as hardware, equipment, or buildings. This expense is then deducted over time. Cloud impact on CapEx, decrease upfront costs. With cloud computing, businesses no longer need to invest heavily in purchasing and maintaining physical infrastructure upfront, which we addressed earlier. Instead, they can rent resources from cloud providers, and then they can shift from ownership to usage. Cloud migration. When moving workloads to the cloud, the CapEx associated with owning and managing physical servers decreased. Operational expenditures will address a little bit of that. The definition of that OpEx represents the ongoing operational costs incurred by a business. It includes expenses related to daily operations, such as utilities, maintenance, and payroll for your IT teams. Agility, that's another thing that you have with cloud. OpEx provides the agility needed to adapt to changing business requirements and market dynamics. Planning ahead when migrating to the cloud. Businesses should assess suitability, analyze cost, and plan for a cost-effective transition. So, in this article, it briefly discusses, what is cloud, the different type of cloud providers, and why companies are moving to cloud, which we addressed a bit of that earlier. So, a few of the cloud providers, which is listed here: AWS, in other words, Amazon Web Services, who is the leading cloud provider in the market right now. And then you have Google Cloud Platform as well, in short, GCP, and then Microsoft Azure, which is the second in the market for cloud services and cloud offerings. A few of the reasons why companies move to the cloud. For one, fault tolerance. A very common reason companies first get interested into the cloud is fault tolerance. By definition, let's say system operating fails, right, within your data centers. A lot of the times, there might not be staff that get to it on time. But with cloud computing, it gives you assurance that there won't be any interruptions with any of your services that is hosted within their infrastructure. Another is cost savings. Before cloud technology, companies needed to pay for on-site service, as we'd addressed before. And now they're with the model of, pay as you go. Another reason why is improved data security. So when the cloud was first introduced, a lot of the companies, especially government entities, was a little bit more skeptical on hosting their data in cloud. But now with a lot of the cloud providers, they're assuring security of the customer's data and making sure that they meet a lot of the security frameworks and controls. So better data recovery is another reason why. A lot of the cloud providers ensure that you don't lose your data and allow you to host some of your files and data on a remote site, right? So just in case if one of the sites go down or you lose some of your data on one site, you'll always have another site that's in another physical location that has all your data stored. So we want to talk about a few of the big enterprises that actually have moved over to cloud. For one, there's Netflix. Netflix utilizes Amazon Web Services to host their streaming platform. And with, as you can tell, a lot of the requests, a lot of the streaming time that a lot of the consumers have towards the Netflix services, I believe that Netflix took the right approach by hosting their servers and their services within cloud. Another is Twitter. Big platform. You always have that platform updating with live news and a lot of what everybody is tweeting about or having to say. So a lot of Twitter's platform and services are actually hosted with Google, Fitbit, and many more. Oh, just to give you a little bit more of a good depiction of what cloud services are and how they work. We're gonna just put this layout here, right? So, cloud has a few offerings. To name a few, for one, there's public cloud. A public cloud is a type of cloud computing where resources are provided by a third-party provider via the internet. These resources are shared by organizations and individuals who want to use or purchase them. A few key points about public cloud. Availability. Public cloud services are accessible to anyone who wants to subscribe to them. Resource variety is another one. Public cloud offerings include computing, storage, development environments, and applications. Cost models. Some resources are available for free, while others are paid through subscriptions or in a pay-per-usage model. Another type of cloud provided offering is hybrid cloud. A hybrid cloud is a mixed computing environment where applications are run using a combination of computing, storage, and services in different environments. These environments could include public cloud, as we talked about earlier, private cloud, also known as on-premises, where the servers are actually in a private cloud environment hosted within an organization's own data center. They provide dedicated resources for specific applications. And lastly, edge locations. These are, for the most part, distributed computing nodes located closer to the data source or end users. You ask why hybrid cloud, right? It, for the most part, offers organizations versatility. When using, hybrid cloud to create more setups based on their specific business needs, cost reduction to reduce costs and minimize risk. Digital transformation. Hybrid cloud extends existing capabilities that are on-premise over to cloud. This supports digital transformation efforts. Some examples of hybrid cloud configurations include public cloud plus private cloud. This is the practice of combining public cloud services with private cloud infrastructure or on-premise services. Having to integrate some of the data that a customer has running within Oracle with some data or services that they have running within Microsoft, for example. Using services from multi-public clouds to perform some of their various tasks. So let's go further into, since we discussed the different offerings that cloud providers have, let's look further into services that are offered with each cloud provider. For one, we have software as a service. Often it's abbreviated as SaaS. It's a software licensing and delivery model in which software is licensed on a subscription basis and is centrally hosted within each cloud provider. Some key points about SaaS. SaaS has become popular for various business applications, including office software, messaging tools, payroll processing, customer relationship management, and enterprise resource planning, ERP. Another is PaaS, in other words, platform as a service. To simplify it, it's pretty much a place where the developers then can concentrate on coding and leaving everything else to the cloud provider. For instance, the infrastructure, the operations, the cooling, the updates as far as, updating the servers, all that is left to the cloud provider. And all they have to concentrate on is application development. Another is infrastructure as a service. It's a type of cloud computing service that provides essential compute, storage, and networking resource on demand. This is for the most part offered on a pay-as-you-go basis, depending on the customer's requirements and what they need. Here are some of the key points about infrastructure as a service, in other words, IaaS. Essential resources. IaaS delivers fundamental infrastructure components including virtual servers, compute, data storage, and network connectivity. Flexibility and scalability. IaaS solutions allow organizations to scale resources up and down based on the demand. Whether you need more computing power or additional storage, IaaS provides flexibility that you need. So, some advantages, as we said: reduce capital expenditures, no need to configure and manage physical data centers, optimizes costs, pay only for what you use, improve security and performances, cloud providers manage infrastructure while you focus on software and applications. And we could kind of discuss this with giving it an analogy of pizza as a service, right? So for one, this diagram kind of discusses the differences between when you do everything yourself within your on-premises infrastructure, infrastructure as a service, in other words, IaaS, platform as a service, PaaS, and software as a service, SaaS. So let's kind of reduce this here. Hopefully you can see this a little bit better. So look at it this way, right? When you have all your servers on site at your own data center or a co-location, everything you have responsibility on, right? So take a look at it this way, right? It's like when you have a pizza that you make at home, for instance. You are responsible for the cheese, the toppings, the tomato sauce, the pizza dough, the fire, the oven, the electricity and gas, whatever that you're using in order to fire up the pizza. You also have to bring your own drinks, soda, whatever you like. And then finally, you place that pizza on a table or hard surface for everybody to take from. And going on from that, you have infrastructure as a service. For this, it's a take and bake, right? You pick up the pizza from any local fridge pizza, right? Murphy's, or even DiGiorno that you grab from your local Target. The cheese, the toppings, the tomato sauce, the pizza dough, all of that is handled by your cloud provider. That's their responsibility. You have to be responsible for the overlying things, right? The fire, the oven, the electric, the gas, the soda, the dining table. In other words, if you have an operating system that running on a VM, you are responsible for securing those VMs. Also the networking aspect of it, what data goes where, filtering or creating policies to block traffic coming from the internet. You have to secure that. You have to do that yourself. If you have an operating system like a Linux and you want to run a different type of software package, you have to actually get that from the internet and allow that traffic to come in. So those are the type of things that you are responsible for an IaaS model. Another is platform as a service, or PaaS. As you can see, cheese, toppings, tomato sauce, pizza dough, fire, oven, electric, gas, that's all covered by the cloud provider. So a little bit more than what you have to deal with when you're in a infrastructure as a service model. So only thing you have to cover is the soda and the dining table, right? And in retrospect, this is for the most part like you're developing, right? So let's say you're on AWS and you're working with a serverless compute. All that is covered. All you have to do is hop on and develop your code or develop your application actually or your service. Another is software as a service. Every single thing for that is actually covered by the cloud provider. For example, going back to Office 365 and having to work with software like Teams, SharePoint, and Outlook. All you have to do is connect to it. A lot of the times those come pre-installed on most of the PCs or Windows, and all you have to do is just log in and connect. And this is for the most part dining out. And going back to pass, I didn't see this little section here. That's for the most part pizza being delivered to you, right? So that gives you a little overview of what different cloud services the cloud providers offer, and kind of give you an image of what to expect.